Hi, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Dancers Podcast. Today I have Danai Porat with me, which is another very close friend of mine, which is always fun to have people that I love speaking with on my day-to-day life on the podcast and sharing those conversations with you guys. So, Danai, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Danai, and I'm Maya's very old and dear friend. And I'm also really excited to get to talk to you like this because we are kind of long distancing now for a while. So that's an opportunity to catch up and also go a bit deeper, I feel, than what we always tend to do. And I'm excited to also kind of brief into my own journey, I think, regarding dance and also get to share it maybe and discuss it.
All right. So, for the people that don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about your journey into dance?
Sure, yeah. I for 7 years now I've been a dancer in Batsheva dance company. 3 years from them were in the young company in the ensemble, and then since then I've been for 4 years now, 4 seasons in the main company. And my journey started also before with my dance education, which me and Maya, we shared the same high school for arts, which was also a very demanding time, and very hell of a journey for us, I think, even before starting a professional career. But I've always been dancing and I always been physical and yeah, I'm, it's interesting that we're having this conversation now we will get to it soon, but at this turning point in my life where I'm
Yeah.
taking a small step away. So yeah.
So before we dive into the deep shit, I wanted to ask, when you were younger, did you always imagine yourself dancing like professionally?
So I don't know when it started. Like I know where it hit me that that's what I want to do, but I don't think that before I was thinking like this is I didn't know instantly that that's what I'm doing. I didn't realize I was dancing for something, and I didn't always dance. Like I started from doing like martial arts, like just being very hyper kid, and using what I have to let my energy kind of out. And my parents sent me to dance probably to let my energy out, not thinking it's something that I would actually fall in love with. And then it's been a few years, I remember, of doing it and going a bit more, not professionally, but I moved to like just a normal school that had like a dance major. And after a few years there, I remember sitting in the class, different, just like a normal class. I don't even remember what it was. The teacher asking us to write something about what we want to be as adults. And I remember the only thing that I could think of, I didn't think about the woman I want to be, about the family I want to have, about the nothing. Only wanting to be known as a dancer. That's what I remember I wrote.
What
I
age was that?
probably like 12, I guess. 12, 13. So it was like junior high kind of.
And when was the moment that you started taking it more seriously, like really pushing to that direction?
So I think in this school, in this like dance major, there was the woman that ran, that was like the director of the dance major, and she had a good eye, and she also had a good connection with me, and I think she saw something in me, and she told my dad actually, she my dad came to pick me up from school, and she told him there's I know there's auditions to this huge high school of arts which we went to after. And I think she should go. Like I really see something in her. I think it's worth trying. And it seemed so far from me because I didn't live. The school was in Tel Aviv, almost like the border of the city, but I was living quite far and it didn't feel realistic at all to do this. And I wasn't even thinking about actually pursuing it in a total way, but it always felt like the only thing I enjoyed. So I said, okay, yeah, she sees something in me. Um, I feel like, and I was also very, I think, not pleasing, but I will get to it. But I think when someone told me this is what you should do, I was like, oh, so it's probably the best thing for me. So I think it was pretty instant that, and my dad was like pushing for it a lot, and eventually, I think getting to that high school, having 4 years of being surrounded with only artists for the first time in my life, I also felt very safe because I always felt like maybe my character is a bit, my personality and my soul is a bit more free in a way or more creative, and I didn't know how to call it in words. And I always felt kind of like not fitting in the social conversation where I was before.
And when you arrived to the art high school that we both went to, how smooth did things go for you? Like, did you feel like you belonged? Did you feel like dance-wise things were flowing for you, or did it take some time?
Definitely took some time. I think I was very closed. I didn't know much. And I think it's always something that I was lacking. Also, still now I'm working on it a lot, but I think being so kind of swallowed up inside dancing and physical activity, I always felt lacking of information, of knowledge. I always felt not smart enough. And I remember arriving there and everyone
Interesting,
was so
actually.
knowledgeable. And it's something that a
Yeah,
lot of
let's
us
talk about
share.
this. Like,
Yeah.
I always had this thought that like some of the best dancers, they just have like physical intelligence.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What do you think about
Really,
this? Because
so
I think
I
most
really
of us are
feel,
very intelligent.
yeah. I think it's just, it was a long process. And I think now I understand it wasn't that it's not existing. It was just, I needed a long way to craft how I think about the world, because I think at first I would think about stuff in a very visual, physical way. The words that I could give to describe something were very lacking. They were very few. And I think when you are so total in this form of art that concerns a lot the way you look and the way you look at I mean the way you are being looked at and the way you look and the way you also look at other stuff, and it's very, you kind of leave the conversation inside your mind because it's really hard to talk about dance in a non-metaphorical and abstract way. And I think I was lacking the words, and slowly when I got to talk to more artists and I got to grow inside this world and to create and to have a conversation about what I'm doing, it really enlarged my vocabulary and the way I can, see stuff and talk about them. And I
So
think I
what
always felt just like stupid.
what would you recommend to dancers in the beginning of their career that experience this feeling that maybe I'm stupid?
I think looking back, it's very hard to say because you're in a crazy load and you just want to succeed and you want to fit in. And I also didn't think I was very like an underdog in that sense in the dancing department. Like I didn't feel like I was instantly recognized or getting like good feedback. Like it wasn't that, but I always, and maybe because of this actually, I felt like I always need to push more. So I couldn't waste any moment doing something that is not getting better, getting, I don't know, stronger, stretching more. Like it felt like a waste of time, or sleeping or eating. So I didn't read a lot and I didn't enlarge the my world of ideas of the dance. I know I didn't know any choreographers. I think it was a process like learning about, not only physically about dance, but also having like dance history classes and like seeing that I'm really interested in these classes. I sit with like the mouth open and I'm just waiting to get to know more choreographers and more people that influenced dance through the years, and analyzing art and analyzing what I see, getting this form of intellectual food for the brain, I think was very helpful. So I can't say what I recommend because it's only looking back, and I know it's very hard to do this stuff when you're in a load and you want to keep on taking and growing and being better. But I do think there is something in reaching your passion and in reaching your curiosity from not only that, like to get your food of the artistic mind and soul from not only one channel. I think would help me and helps me still now, to get
This
inspired. Yeah.
is really beautiful, because I think that as artists, actually as dancers, we sometimes don't treat ourselves as artists,
Yeah.
but we are. We are actually the most complex kind of artists because we are doing art, but we're also athletes in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really like
Biggest paradox of my
that.
life, I think, of everyone's life, I think, inside
Yeah.
this profession.
So I really liked what you said about taking the time to be curious, to investigate other arts, to enrich yourself with going to watch shows, even theater, going to the museum. If you have a day off, you can even like watch things on YouTube, like
Yeah.
super easy.
Yeah.
I did want to ask because before you said that you were the underdog. So I wanted to ask what kept you going if you were the underdog, if you didn't get the feedback, if you didn't get fed by how good you are all the time,
Mhm.
what was the reason that you kept going?
So I think it's there were always like few channels, like, this is my perspective, this is my experience. I felt like an underdog. Maybe it's a huge word. Yeah, I'm sure that other people maybe didn't see me like this or thought that I was always a great dancer. I don't know, but my experience was that I came with almost like not good enough of a technique. Like I was not fitting into the classical ballet world that I was asked to be a part of. And I always knew something about the way I dance is not conservative. I'm very strong. I have good features, not necessarily ballet features, but that was always very hard for me. Like I still deal with like injuries that are concerning, how much your hips are open and how does your feet stretch. And I don't have these features. And I think I was always trying to push my body to look a certain way, and I couldn't, and it was very hard for me. And I felt that I'm kind of like being forced to pursue ballet and be on point shoes like 20 hours a week because someone said to me that being a contemporary dancer is not possible without having the ballet technique. So I knew in my mind I have to kind of go through almost like you play, jazz pianists, they always have like a classical education or a base. And I kind of it made sense to me in the mind that I need to be technical and strong to then after let my soul free, which also turned out to be true. And I'm very happy that I got, these years were very hard for me, and a lot of stuff that I'm saying sorry for, but I also know I wouldn't become the dancer I am today without having to go through these journeys. But I do remember at some point getting like a good feedback from the more like contemporary dance teachers, and remembering that I'm a dancer, I'm an animal almost, and that I don't want to be or can't be fitted into this ideal body and ideal technical capabilities. And so I was looking for another way. And at the same time, I remember I was introduced to Batsheva, which was a kind of a big deal for me. Like I didn't yet watch shows, but I remember starting to watch all the social media. I mean, back then it wasn't really social media. So all the YouTube videos that were existing, all the content that they had ever online, I was watching it. I was soaking it in. I was seeing people that I'm like, wow, they're not all looking the same. They look very strong and amazing, and this is what I want to be. Like, this is my inspiration. And I couldn't believe that I found something that. And so I remember always talking to my friends, and they would be like, oh, the teacher said this, teacher said that. I would always say, no, I don't like. I remember, like, I wanted to please them. I wanted to be the best. I wanted that, but I knew my place is Batsheva. I knew something like this. I didn't know if I would actually end up there, but I felt like it represents the freedom in a way, or the non-conventional conservative route that everyone was kind of doing, and everyone wanted to be successful in what you're asked to be. And I just couldn't. I tried. And then eventually also I got to do a lot of ballet, and I was getting better at it because I am strong. And I was dancing beautifully on top of that, which ballet is not only technique. So it did serve me in that sense. But I always felt like I cannot watch myself in the mirror. My feet are breaking. I get injured in the knees because I'm pushing my hips to open, but I don't have it. I felt bigger than everyone, even though I was not dealing so much with like eating disorders, but I had boobs, I had that, I was kind of
What can
evolving
you
as a human.
tell? What can you tell the dancer that doesn't feel comfortable with their body, that maybe have a bigger boobs or ass?
Wow, I don't know. It's hard to say. I remember at the time I was being pretty psychotic about it. Like, I wanted all of this to disappear. And I had some smart friends that were telling me like, it's not all about dance. Like, they were, don't worry, you need to also have a body, like you're human, like, you know, boys. It was all this stuff that I was like, oh wait, like, I don't need to look a certain way because I'm going on stage tomorrow with the Bolshoi. Like, I want to live my life. It's stuff I'm saying now in a totally mature and more healthy perspective. I couldn't see it at the time, but there were all these voices that I think kept me. Um, I was lucky enough to be healthy, to really love to eat. I really loved eating, really. And I couldn't not also. I was wasting so much energy. And I think, again, having some friends that were outside of the dancing department really kept me kind of sane in that sense, like understanding I shouldn't make myself disappear. And I think the body issues are, it's a huge field of, there's so much to talk about, but, and I also don't feel like I have the the power and the certificates to say to someone how to be, but I do think there's many more things that are beyond that. And I've experienced it, and my body changed a lot. Like, when you're 12, 13, 14, 15, your body is still, it's every day you wake up different. And it's a chaos, because especially for women, like, the hormones are changing, you're developing in a weird way. And I really feel like, when you become a person in the world, especially a strong human that works out a lot, the body goes with it. The body is smart. The body knows how you're treating it and what it should give you back. And it's a rabbit hole. We will never be pleased with the way we look in any form of art, in modeling, in whatever. Also, humans that are not artists, I'm sure. But there's a moment that you kind of understand that, okay, it's shaping itself in a way that maybe this is how it should be. And then you need to think about how you're presenting yourself, and how you are curious to take stuff and to make it your own, and what does your soul really want to do, and how does it want to move, and maybe there's other like I found my way that I was like, okay, this seems like something I could do, and it looks very similar to the way I move. It's not very strict. It's, there's many ways to, I think, overcome this border of like, if I'm this and this, it's not fitting, then it's wrong. I've seen so many dancers find a way for the right type of movement and of fulfillment that is suitable for them.
Yeah, I agree with what you say. I think each one should find their way through experience to understand what is good for them, what is the way that they can sustain this career, because this is a very demanding career. You do put out a lot of energy. But I want to ask you something else now. So a lot of dancers dream about reaching companies like Batsheva. But what is something about professional dance that surprised you once you got there?
Wow. It's funny, you say professional dance, and I'm there for 7 years professionally, and it's hard for me to, I'm like, wow, it's a profession. Um,
It is a
it
profession.
took me, I think I realized it instantly, but I also don't think I ever realized it. Like, it's so crazy. Um, I remember it's very minor, yeah. Now I look at it differently, but I remember coming from high school and remember being in a rehearsal, and then the rehearsal said, like, rehearsal time was until like 2 exactly, precisely. And I remember at 2, they let us go for lunch, and I was shocked. I was like, what? They're not stealing a bit of time here, stealing the time there. I was very surprised about the way that the institution and the company respects my time as a human, and that not only respects it but also supports me to nourish myself and rest and take care and eat, which obviously looking back at it will probably get there, but I don't feel like it's in the place it should be. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that are being ignored under the load, but I did remember, and I still think it's worth saying, comparing to the time that we were in high school, which I'm sure it changed also now, it's been a while. But I remember I never felt like that I'm being seen by the team, by the teachers. I was always like going along. If they would maybe release us 20 minutes after the break, no one would say anything. Like, it was insane to me getting to Batsheva and having, a union, a dancers union that takes care that we are working according to the contract, and that we have enough days off, and that we, etc., etc. I think that was the initial, uh, actually pleasant surprise for me. Um,
Were there surprises that were unpleasant? Because sometimes, it
or,
looks so like prestigious from the
yeah,
outside. So I
yeah,
wonder, maybe you can give us an insight as an
yeah.
insider.
I think it took me time to start kind of sinking in all the less pretty sides of the place. And I think it was like maybe 3 years later, like I think being in the young company and dreaming about the main company, you let all the bad stuff out of your head. You ignore them. And only when you achieve kind of the thing you want and you feel more secure, you start seeing that things are not as bright as before. And also when you leave the place, which I'm sure you had, as I'm sure other people have. So I think going to the main company and seeing that, in fact, people are not happy all the time. They're not fulfilling themselves all the time. They're working. Like, I think for me, it was the realization that it's my job. I can't always be enjoying. I can't always feel at my best. And I don't always feel supported. And I sometimes would feel very see-through and very not a part. And and there's a lot of talented people that you really get inspired from, but also everyone wants to succeed. And I think sometimes you think it goes on other people's expense, but in fact it doesn't, because in the end of the day, people come to watch a show. They see some more, some less, but the taste of people and how they fall in love with dancers, you can never explain it. So I think it was a moment for me to see, wow, I'm what I dreamed of, the shows, the audience. Sometimes I get off stage and the show was horrible for me, or I think I would get the applause and the compliment. I don't. Um,
How do
and
you
I
deal with that? Like when it happens, when you go off stage and maybe you go outside and all the people are there, but you don't
Yeah,
receive the compliments or the
yeah,
feedback that you were expecting to.
it happened so many times. I remember having this void of like, wow, the expectations, they're so bad. Expecting something is always, pretty much always, is like it's a downhill, and it's promised. And I think I would go out and wait for this thing, and it wouldn't come. I think it would help me to sit down for a moment, think about what I need now. I'm tired. I'm hungry. What? Okay, it passed. So there will be many more, and maybe today something and something and something happened, and maybe I don't deserve it. Also, maybe I had a bad show, or maybe I'm
Oh,
great.
oh,
And
oh, oh. Let's talk about this one because for me, I hear you say maybe I don't deserve it, and it's like,
no, I meant more like, maybe it was nothing. I mean, some people experience great emotions, and they're like mesmerized by you, but they don't always feel the need to say, maybe I don't deserve the sentence. Maybe my work has been done by sending them away with the emotions and the generosity that I had to share and give. Maybe the words are unnecessary. Maybe
yeah,
maybe they
I
are. I don't know.
agree. I think using the word deserve, maybe it's, yeah, because I think you do deserve. You always deserve something, because you gave something out of you. So maybe the words are unnecessary, but I think something very beautiful that you said is that you had the reflection moment after the show. And maybe it's a moment that you can reflect on the experience that you had inside the show and give yourself some kind of feedback.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's an ongoing journey for me, and I still fall sometimes there. And you're right. I think ignoring the fact I said deserve is is a mistake, because I do think my subconscious sometimes feels that I'm not good enough and I don't deserve this applause. And it's interesting. I think the moments that I manage to be like, okay, tomorrow is another day. I will have many more shows. Some of them are amazing, and some are less exciting for me as a performer. And if I get the words and I get the sentences, the beautiful sentences after, or the appreciation even on the hard work, it doesn't have to be compliments. Yeah, everyone is working really hard. We deserve a smile, but or a thank you even. But I think it's more than that. I think it's the wanting to be seen as something, as a personal influence on someone. And I would think maybe I influenced myself today. Maybe I learned something new. Maybe I felt actually I was really enjoying more and finding new stuff and feeling that I improved from, I don't know, 2 days ago. And maybe also for me, it was a weird show, and I felt like, yeah, the energy was blocking me because I was in my head, or I was weak today, and it's okay. And it took me a while to say it's fine. Like, let's go home and rest, and think about it as a job, because yeah, some days in a normal working place are really bad, and you go home and do something else, and you let the working day get off your shoulders. And I think here in art, it's like it's so precious, and it's so, and you take it with you. And I'm saying it to myself mostly. I think I'm still dealing with it, but looking at it a bit from outside now, I think it has to be something that you also let go, because if it's a job, then it's a job for the good and for the bad. It can't be a passion and only art and hobby and fun when you want, and a job other days. It has to be both all the time.
So, how do you balance between art and job?
It's a great, great question. I don't do anything else for it. I haven't done anything else for the past 7 years. So that was my main job. I don't know, it's worth saying probably for whoever doesn't know me, or so I don't really do anything else. As for getting paid and working, um, it's interesting. I think it depends, because the company life, they don't have one way of, it's not like a structure or a pattern that is like daily. Kind of like shifts all the time, the schedule. Some months we're only working, some months we're creating, some months we're only performing and then going back to the studio and then performing something else. It's like a whole mess. And especially I think inside the load, it's it's almost like a defense mechanism. So I think it helps me remember that sometimes that I have to be here. I have to be here even if I don't want to. And I do it and I get paid for this. And this is what I'm meant to be doing. I got sent by whatever. This is my soul's wish. And maybe it's not always compensating me. And I don't always feel fulfilled and artistically creative and open. And so then this defense mechanism of like, yeah, this is what you need to do. This is your obligation now. Kind of helps me. But there's the other side of it, of like, of kind of feeling powerful inside, like understanding that it's it's something that I do and I should feel very lucky for. And I could do 100 other different stuff, but I'm choosing to do one thing, and I can focus on it and I can grow inside it, and it has a lot of benefits. And then it can also be very draining and very sad, to choose the thing you love the most to do, to be your job, can be very, it's like maybe you stop enjoying it. But I I want to believe that it's not that I ever stopped enjoying it. It's just that it became a different cause. Like it's serving a different cause, I think. And you have to step away from it. For me, it really helps to take time off. Like, not only like now that I'll talk about it soon, but the way that I'm separating a little bit from the company life and the load, but really inside the week and the working days, and to have space from it, to miss it, because I really believe for myself that creativity and passion comes from a certain void. Um, and of course, I meet also the other side of it, that, I come to the studio very drained and tired, and then something happens and someone does something and I get pumped and I suddenly have the energy. Or I work with Ohad and he comes with such inspiration and ideas that I get really full of it. But yeah, mostly I think having other things that support you and a moment to kind of drift away, reset your powers and your energy towards it. I think it really helps me. So I recommend finding ways to kind of quiet the soul and the body. I think it's really important to try to stop the race and remember that we are, like you said before, we're athletes and we need space from it. We can't just be like.
Before we started recording, you mentioned that inside all this professional experience, you still sometimes find yourself like returning to patterns of insecurity. So I wanted to ask, what does it look for you? Like, what does it look like for you?
Wow, I'm at the time of my life that I'm really reflecting all the moments in my career and the journey I've been through. And I think it's something that I look at a lot recently, the way that I still get really stressed to go on stage, but really stressed, not in a way of like excitement, but almost like I can't sleep sometimes during the night, and I get anxious, and my body is like closing and hurting and collapsing, and my immunity system is getting weaker, and my the nervous system is going out of control, and I feel the effect of the almost like anxiety from what I don't know, but it's present. And I think I always say about myself with my friends that I think it's a combination of having huge self-importance of like, if I fall, if something happens, it's the end of the world, and like I have to be so and so, and I believe I'm this because I'm great. Like having a belief that you need and deserve to be there, but the confidence inside is just ruining you, and almost like there's a huge gap. Like I can't seem to fit myself into what I believe I need to be. It's quite
Wow.
amorphic and abstract, but I think, yeah, I understood it at a certain point. I think it was like 2 years ago that I felt like almost like I know I'm good, okay? And I know I'm not here for granted. I've been here for a long time. I receive the feedback that is building me. I'm working hard. I know I'm at a certain level, but I keep seem to let my soul go lower and lower, and almost not believe that I'm in the level that I'm right for. Almost like I'm not worthy. And getting feedbacks and saying, "Oh, thank you," and trying to believe them, but then going home and 10 minutes later thinking that I'm horrible. So maybe in other people's eyes I'm good, but I see myself in such a critical way. And it's like it's a huge gap from the mind and the inner conversation to what you get from the outside world.
But I wonder because you said that you got a good feedback from the outside. So where do these voices come from? The
I
voices
don't
of
know.
like you're not good enough.
I don't know. I think it's the way I look at myself and the way that, the good feedbacks weren't always there. So it's 50-50, or maybe now it's 80% good feedback and 20% of bad feedback because I'm already a professional and I do the thing that I do for a long time. But so there is not really a lot of bad feedback. It's more like ways to improve, yeah, in the environment in Batsheva today. We don't get like horrible feedback, but we can get a bad energy and a bad vibe. And and I think the the place of not feeling worthy is not connected to dance. I think it's something very prehistorical, very natural. It's the almost like the base of being, I think, a woman in life or a human in life, and always feeling that or maybe it's just me, whatever I am is not good enough. But there's so many things I need to be also. So who am I trying to whom structure I'm trying to fit? So I think it's always remembering that even if someone said I'm great, I take it and I say thank you, and I also try to believe them, but I'm always anxious of what will happen if okay, tomorrow it's gone. So if I fail or something bad happens, that's it. This is my last chance. And then from now on, everyone will expose me, and the secret of not being good enough will come out. I think it also connects to what I said before, to how I started my journey in the high school. Like I knew I'm good, and I knew I'm worthy, but I kept being stepped on and almost treated in a evil way and being pushed by being yelled at and getting mean sentences to become greater and better.
From your educators, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, not from my colleagues, but from my educators, from my teachers.
You know, it sounds like a classic imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like even
Yeah.
though you've been in this
Yeah.
place where you're a
Yeah.
professional dancer for 7 years in the same company already, and you did fulfill your dreams, you still feel like something is not good enough. You always
Yeah.
look for a way to make yourself better.
Yeah. Yeah. This is why I related to the self, like how you're perceived and the, how did I call it? Not self-esteem, but self-importance. Like I think the importance is important in this conversation because it's almost like, you know, my boyfriend would say a lot, like, don't be so humble because you're not that great. He doesn't say it to me, but he says it about himself. And I always like this sentence because I think something about thinking that you are something to people, because this is what it's true. We are something, but I think putting on it all the energy in the world can be very draining because then you feel like you always have to stay in the same line without having any right or left movements. You have to all the time stay straight, and it's impossible because we every morning I wake up different, and I will always let people down, and I will always make people happy, and I will always let myself down, always let myself happy. Like it's just how it is. And then having every movement of mine affect everyone and affect the show and ruin the show. It's an irrelevant conversation, and I think this is why it's not matching to the conversation outside. It's an inner demon that I think is haunting really every artist I know.
I think
And
we can reframe it as the pleasing demon.
yeah,
And
yeah,
also, I wanted to actually give another way, like another perspective to look at it, because this can also be, you called it self-importance, but I think it's a lot about responsibility. You taking
yeah,
responsibility on people, on things that you shouldn't take responsibility over. You only have responsibility over yourself, and maybe if you have a kid, then on your kid.
yeah.
But you cannot be responsible for everyone's happiness, for everyone's good time.
Mhm. 100%. And I think it's affecting also a lot. I think I learned a lot about it through the relationships in my life. It wasn't easy to come to this realization through dance, because in dance it's very easy to, because you're being thrown all the time from happy, from adrenaline, from lows. It's really hard to stay in control and understand what's happening. So I think a great way for me to learn how much I'm pleasing and almost owning other people's happiness and taking responsibility about how the thing will behave if I don't do my best, or what will collapse if I don't do my best. And
Well,
I
that's a
learned,
heavy
and I
load.
it's a really heavy load. It's a really heavy load, and it's also not real. It's not something that is like logical. And it's very personal. It's very almost egoistic, I think, on myself, like wanting to be the best and wanting to be looked at always. And what happens if people are not looking at me? Maybe they're in a slight moment taking their eyes, and they're not concentrated with what we are doing now, or they're thinking, or what, there's so many possibilities of what can happen in the mind of a human, when they take a decision to behave a certain way. Yeah. And I think, yeah, it arrived to a point that I was not, I felt I'm going on stage and I'm not in the moment. I'm only thinking about how soon I will be tired and how soon I won't stand on my leg and I will fall. And so I saw my body is shivering because my body is not rooted down on the floor. There's no connection. Like I'm constantly in my head and it pulls me up and then I become unstable like I predicted. And it's a loop. And and I think there's a lot of safety and pleasure and fulfillment in being in a company and doing, being a muse and being someone's tool and knowing that yeah, maybe sometimes they're very not pleased with you and they want to change you and it happens, yeah. But they're also very pleased because they're using you and they could choose not to use you and they are using you. And so it can be very fulfilling and very amazing and I'm not taking that away, but I think it's also scary because it's not your own thing and it's not maybe the thing that you feel is representing you and even I think in Batsheva we're a part of the creation processes and we're making our own material and we're performing with it, but it's never only for myself. It's what I make for myself to dance in, but it's not my piece. So I almost create what I think the person, the choreographer, wants me to make, always thinking what he wants me to do. And so it's never really honest. And I think when you're not feeling honest, so it's easier to get scared and and to fear that you can let them down, even if it's your thing. And I think I would take more responsibility to fail and to be less good in my own stuff. But it's also much scarier. But it comes with more freedom and more maybe agreement that this is what's happening.
So I think in most big companies, you can see a lot of dancers that create material in order to please and to fit in. They think
Mm-hmm.
about the director, the choreographer, what they're gonna like, what they expect me to make. And you see very few dancers that don't give a shit and just do whatever they want. But these guys do exist,
Mm-hmm.
and they were among us. So what do you feel is the difference between the dancer that is so like honest and true with who they are and with what they want to give, and they don't do it for the feedback and in order to fit in and to be right, and the dancers that is like staying in the safe zone?
I think it's not, I don't see it as like two different colors. I think you can create thinking what the person wants you to make and what they like and still be honest and creative and generous. I don't think they're contradicting, but I do think it has to do a lot with where you are and where you are in life and how ready and mature you are. I think it's mostly indicating that you are not maybe 100% connected to yourself and you don't know yourself. Like I felt that it's not that I am staying in a safe zone because I don't know what my safe zone is, but rather that I just don't have the knowledge and I don't have the tools to explore myself because I'm not, I'm a fruit that's not ready yet. And I think it comes a lot with experience. It's not only some people are born with this thing and they're even if they're younger dancers and they just started a career, sometimes they have a really clear voice. But I think there's no right or wrong. I think tuning more and more your voice inside your taste and what's flattering in your mind to you, to your body, and what you are interested in exploring this in this creation. And I think tuning more and more what is your taste and what is your what your soul is inside and the way that you want to present yourself in dance, because in the end we can all be similar, but it's how you put things out, the dynamics of them, how fast you're talking, how slow. It's all this way of kind of putting on a tray your imagination and your curiosity, and it has a lot to do with how strict you are with yourself and how much you feel that you stand behind yourself. And I felt like when I started creating, I didn't have myself. I only had the outside. And so it wasn't that I actually, maybe I was really honest with myself that I'm not, that I don't know. And my only way of creating and doing the thing was thinking a bit about what the person wants from me and also taking a lot of inspiration from others. And I think this for me was a great tool. So I think the difference is not bad or wrong necessarily, but I do think it indicates a certain level of connection to yourself. And there's no one to blame. I think it's just a process. And yeah, obviously in anything in life, being, connected to yourself and taking risks, I assume is better than being in a comfort zone, because comfort zone usually you don't really grow from, but also some people do grow there and they need this nourishing and comfort. So yeah, I believe it's all coming from how much you are authentic maybe with yourself. And authenticity can mean that you admit that you don't know and that you are not capable enough to create 10 minutes of material. Maybe you need help, maybe you need assistance, maybe you need to take from someone and to copy them. I don't know. There's so many, but it needs a lot of compassion. I think it's really hard to also feel that and also criticize yourself. Like there has to be like a middle.
Yeah, I 100% agree with this because I think sometimes young dancers, they just don't know themselves enough. And part of the process of growing up and becoming an artist is understanding and discovering your voice. By
Yeah.
discovering who you are, what you like, what you dislike, what are
Hmm.
your values, what is interesting for you, and what turns you on.
Hmm.
And it's an ongoing process that, of course, you can speed it up by actually stimulating yourself with things that you don't usually do
Yeah.
in order to find out to increase your range. I do want to ask you now. Um, so actually, okay, let's talk about the fact that you are going on some kind of year off next season, right? After 7 years of
Yeah.
dancing with the company. So tell me a bit about what made you go for it and what are your expectations or plans?
Yeah. Wow. Crazy for me to talk about it. I'm very happy and excited though to, yeah, that you asked and to share. I think I won't necessarily call it a year off, but yeah, I'm taking a break now, um, from Batsheva specifically and the company life in a bigger picture. And I think I arrived to a point after a long time, relatively to myself. Maybe it's not a long time for someone who danced 11 years in a company, but I feel like I was in high school for 4 years, you know, really strictly educated and taking every drop of energy I have on becoming a great dancer and then, or wanting to become a great dancer and then making it and then straight on just jumping into the company life without having another even 1 month break. So it's been a journey. It's been almost 11 years for me that I didn't stop dancing and I didn't actually stop to think about myself and what I want. And I think at some point I realized that I don't have ownership on my happiness, and it kind of made me worried. And this understanding how I put it in words now is more mature, but I think at the time I felt like just frustrated. I felt that I'm starting to enjoy less, starting to be a bit more grumpy, very stressed, very physically in chaos and mentally as well. And I felt like I need space. I need a break, and I need to find myself in a more quiet and slow pace. And because I'm a very total person, and in I think any aspect of my life or every aspect of my life, it was very easy for me to become a tool. And I also really enjoy it. I think there was a time in my life, I remember I was asking a lot of questions about being a performer and not a creator, someone that only does what they're asked to be doing. Remember I said to you, maybe, I was like, what makes me different from an athlete, from Simone Biles? Am I an artist? And I remember, maybe it was you, I don't remember who said to me, yeah, no, you are interpreting. This is what you do. This is the art. The art is to interpretate what you receive. And I remember I was very busy with it because it was very easy for me to interpretate. For a lot of people, I think it was hard for them. For me, it was the easiest thing to just do what I'm asked to be doing. It's very easy for me to understand what people want from me. And it's much easier for me than creating my own. I'm good in doing what I'm being told to do. Almost like a good student, but today I don't see it as a bad thing. But I used to think it's a bad thing, and I realized that I'm being so total inside of it that wow, I'm almost losing myself, and I turned to be more and more and more and more like hungry for that, and I felt that at a certain point I understood that my all of my self-esteem and value is dependent on that person that tells me what to do, because I'm so good in giving them what they want that, or at least I thought, and not good necessarily from the outside, but I felt like it was easy for me to fit into material, to be taught material and just do it fast and good, that I was like, wow, what's holding me mentally without them? Like I didn't feel like I have myself to count on to be happy. And
Yeah, I
and
just want to paint the picture for a moment for the person that's listening right now. Tell us about the company life. How does it look like? How does your week look?
so usually we work 10 to 5. This is the normal schedule,
Every
but
day.
every day except Saturdays, and Fridays we do like a half day from 10 to 2. But let's say this year we were working on a new creation. So for 3.5 months, we would work from 10 to 6. 3 months without any shows, without any, outside different experiences. So this
And each day,
schedule
like
keeps changing.
how does the day look? Do you work 6 hours? Like how intense is it?
It's a good question. I think it changes a lot while you grow inside the place. I know in the young company, you seize every moment. You use every second of the day. You work from 10 to 5. You have an hour break for lunch, and you work all the time. In the main company, it's a bit different. I think we are being trusted more that we know the job and we can do it. And so sometimes we do half days. And I have to say the working days are not intense. We barely go deep, but that's also a problem. I think we became a bit numb because we are performing so much and we are so tired that we're just like, let us do the job. We know how to do it. But the mental and physical load of the shows, which is a lot. Most of the time we do double shows, every day 2 shows. So we would arrive to the theater around 3 or 4, and then have an hour class and suggestions, and then we have 2 shows that have only 45 minutes in between. And it's very intense, and we do a lot of shows because we're not touring as much. So the shows that we do here in our home theater, the amount has grown a lot in the past few years. And I think our bodies are they don't know how to navigate anymore. They're almost like on autopilot. And so when we arrive to the studio and we have maybe a new creation, we get really inspired and we wanna do stuff, but it's different. Like it's going from one extremity to another extremity. There is no middle. Um, and so the intensity of the work is more on a bigger scale. So the days themselves can be maybe short days sometimes at work, but it's for a certain amount of time. And then it's like a week later, boom, 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 boom. So there's no balance. And I think it really makes the whole system kind of go out of stability. And I think having to all the time be available to, for schedule changing and for tours that may happen, may not, and for being in the theater all the time and working all the time and having really loaded times that I don't see anyone, I don't see my friends, I don't see my partner, I don't go to the beach, I don't see the sun. All these things I started feeling that are kind of crumbling my soul. And it was also accompanied with, physical issues, health issues that I felt that need to be taken care of. Um, and also an understanding that I thought I know myself, and I thought I'm very good in staying in one place and doing the job and kind of being in a, like conformist kind of, and good with institutes or institutions. And then realizing that actually my soul kind of needs more of the freedom and needs more of the unknown and wants to taste more flavors of art, of reality, of of being a human. And it all kind of came together into a one clear, almost like I dreamt about it at night. Okay, it's happening. And almost bigger than me that I have to do it. And then I understood the consequences and I started thinking about it, but I'm happy about it now, and I think there's something healthy in any form of break. Like I believe taking a step away from stuff, even if the consequences are tough and it's sad, or I think it always gives a room to think and it gives a room to breathe. And even if it will be hard for me, I believe it's for the better. And yeah, there's something about the load that was just unbearable for me anymore.
I also think making this decision is so brave. Like you've been so brave deciding to go for it because you actually chose to grab hold of your life.
Mhm.
Because being in the
Yeah,
company and this schedule that you just like described, it's kind of crazy. You receive a schedule in the company for a year in advance.
yeah, yeah,
And this is your schedule. You don't have your own calendar.
yeah,
Your own company schedule. And for the first time in your adult life, you're going to have your own schedule and you're
yeah,
going to have to learn how to fill it. And you can wake up every morning and actually ask yourself, what do I want to do?
yeah. It's so true. I think this is a bit what I wanted. I wanted to ask myself, what do you want to do? And also to not know. I think I was always so scared not knowing what else I have. But it was because I didn't experience and believe that there's something else. And now I'm finally starting to believe that there's something beyond that. I remember joining and thinking, this is the end. There's nothing else for me. Nothing else that would make me happy and fulfilled and excited, really. And I believed it with every inch of my body and my heart. And now I'm in such a different place. And it's the world is changing, and I think everything is really fast. And I'm a very huge fan of the classics and the having a base and creating and building yourself with time and, not being all over. Like I like that, people study stuff and they have a journey inside. Like I'm very, in a way, conservative maybe towards that, because I grew up in a place that, I grew up in Greece, in an island. Everything felt so pure to me. This is what people do. They don't have big dreams. Like, they are just in the mundane, in the daily routine. And obviously, I'm a girl with a lot of dreams and a lot of fantasies, and I really operate from the mind in a nice way, I think. Like, it makes me sane to dream that I'm on the beach while I'm dancing. I don't know. But I also really enjoy the consistency, and so it was hard for me to understand that I'm not that person maybe anymore, and that I do need to shake things up. But also remembering that I like this. I like the hard work. I like the advancing. I like the getting better at stuff. And I think we're in a point in humanity that the food for the brain is so quick, for the body and the brain, actually, but mostly for the brain, it's just so fast, and it's so easy to be jealous, and like and it's a bit what happened to me. Like I was like, I want to do so many stuff, but and it shook me up. But also I understood, there is stuff that I can do. I always thought that there's only one thing I'm talented in. And now I think maybe I can invent myself in many ways, you know? And it's a nice feeling to have. And I think it comes with a lot of fear, but also with a lot of excitement. And yeah, I think it's kind of the first way that I'm actively deciding to break my surface and to make the building collapse. And I think I'm starting to see it as a you said brave, but yeah, as an act of choosing myself, and less the society or the pattern that is correct.
Yeah, I also think you said you're gonna like shake the ground and break down the building, but I don't see it this way. I see it that you just leave the your yard, you just go out, you go someplace else, and you go investigate a different land. And I'm super excited for you for this journey. And with all that being said, do you have any plans for this coming year?
I actually don't know yet. I think I'm starting to work on it. I do know I want to travel the world a bit, like to have a big trip that I kind of like surrender to, and take time to really be in exploring mode, not thinking when I need to come back home and work. But I do know I want to create, I want to work more, I want to experience myself as a dancer outside, because this is a little bit also why I'm taking a step back, to understand what's there to do. But I don't know anything yet. And I'm fearing it a lot because it's like soon, but I'm also kind of like trusting a bit. I don't know why I'm trusting, but I'm trusting that everything will fall into the place that it needs to, because it sounds very hippie. But yeah, I believe that that's kind of the force of life will take me in the right direction. Let's see.
Beautiful. I totally agree with the trusting part. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
okay, so before we finish, do you have any message that you would like to say for the dancers that are in the beginning of their career and they're struggling and they feel insecure and they're just not sure if it's going to happen for them? Maybe they're the underdog like you felt.
wow. I think I see a lot of young people like this in the places I go sometimes to teach, or to observe, and I think we all have like an inner calculator, or a campus, you say, that kind of tells you with great intuition that you are belonging. And I believe that when you feel this belonging, I don't know, it really sounds so hippie.
No,
but
I love
I,
it. Keep going.
but I think it's because I always I was always operating from my stomach. I kind of, people tell me, recommend me stuff. I don't do. I do what I want. But I'm very, very, very looking up to people, and I love listening to what people have to say, and I'm very pleasing in that sense. But in the end of the day, I do it from here, and I think there's something, and I think all of you that need this, that need to hear this, will know when you feel that you belong there, and there's something that is not only from the outside, like being a dancer looks cool, or being in this company looks, glory and glory, like magnificent
Glorious.
and like glorious. And so I think once it's like there's an inner call, I think whatever needs to happen will happen. And I think to keep going, and there will be a lot of bad people or people that will take you down, and actually maybe not the people so much, but your own thoughts that will take you down, and maybe people will try to pull you up, but you won't believe them. And I think to trust every good, and not necessarily good, but a building voice or advice that comes your way. And I think, and also to, on the opposite, like if you feel it's something that is not, you don't want to give up your life for, and it's not an inner call, and maybe it's, you've been tired of all the frustration and the hard work, and you feel like it's not really meant to be for you, then I think to take a step back and to understand what's the reason you're doing this. Because in the end of the day, this career is very, very hard and very, very demanding. And I also, it's hard for me to see people, if you're enjoying it, go for it. But it's hard for me to see people that are giving all of their soul and body and tiredness for something that they're not sure if they're in love with from the beginning to start with. And I think falling in love takes time, but this inner feeling of hunger, of connection, I think it's there. Like we're all very smart people, and to trust that you are smart and talented, and yeah, to have an engine in your ass that will push you forward. I think it's very important to enjoy working hard.
Amen.
If I, yeah.
No, I love that. I love the falling in love part because I believe you can fall in love fast, but love is something that like you can also fall out of love. So
Yeah,
holding a career as a dancer is something that you have to always like maintain your soul, maintain your well-being in the body, in the mind, and you have to sustain the love because you
yeah,
first fall in love, but then you have to take care of the love,
for sure.
especially like you describe throughout this episode about what happens when the love disappears or fades away and you have to keep going because it's your job.
Yeah, or someone tells you that this is what's right for you, or maybe someone else wants to fulfill their dream through you. I don't know, parents, it's very, very natural in dance because it's such a young profession. I think sometimes we think that we have to do it, but there's many ways to, yeah. Anyway.
Amazing. Okay, so I wish you an amazing time exploring yourself, and I'm sure it's going to be so meaningful. And I would love to have this conversation
Wow.
a year later and to see what came up, because I'm sure that you're going to find a lot more. And I'm super happy for you. And for everyone that listened today, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me and my art and my work. This is for you. I want to share my light with you and give you whatever I can to be your lighthouse, not only a torch, but I'm your lighthouse. And if you have any questions, anything, I'm here for you. DM me. And I'm sure Danai would also love to answer your questions. If you feel like
Sure.
talking to us, definitely reach out. So goodbye, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Goodbye.